Hey there everyone, Nate Brown here, and welcome to section 6 of my tutorial on how to make a basic animation rig in Blender. In this tutorial we're going to be putting together a reverse foot rig. The reverse foot rig is a kind of a rigging structure that you'll see in Blender or in Maya, any kind of 3D modeling rigging program. It's just a structure that allows for the correct movement of the foot that you need for really any rig that has foot movements. You can sometimes cheat things, but the reverse foot rig is really the easiest way, or the best way to do it, I guess. It's definitely a complicated setup, but if you follow these instructions, we'll have it put together and set up in no time. So let me show you the final product over here. Let me pull this over. Now I know it's going to look really crazy. That looks way too complicated, right? But it's really not so bad once we start getting into it. Well, all you have to remember is that we still have our basic foot structure here. We've got our leg, our IK handle, our foot piece, and our toe piece. And then we've just added a bunch of other bones here as well to give us a few different pivot points for one. So we've got like these side pivots. These help us to roll the foot on either side. We've got this back pivot, which will help us to pivot from the heel or also pick up or put down from the heel. Same thing with this one up here. This is for the toe, so we can pivot up and down and side to side at the toe point. Then we've got a couple other things, like this one here in the center is our foot controller. This is what's going to house all of our custom properties that's going to help us control all these pieces of the foot, as well as be our main point of movement for when we want to grab the foot and move it around. We're going to have it linked to the IK handle, so when you're moving this foot around, that's what you're going to grab. It's just this piece down here, and the IK handle will go along with it. We got a couple other pieces here, like this piece here gives us a pivot point for the toe, so we can wiggle the toe up and down, and this piece here which helps us to roll the foot forward, keeping the toe flat but lifting the heel up. And then these smaller pieces here, 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 and here are because we actually have to add in 2 more IK pieces to the foot. So these are our handles and our poles for the IK pieces that we're going to add in. So let me just show you some of the functionality and what it's going to look like as a final product. If we go over into pose mode, all that disappears, and that's what ours is going to look like in the end too. We're going to hide everything we don't need. This right here is actually that foot controller that was in the center. We will change that to look like this so that it's going to look nice and clean, like a nice clean controller. And then if we look down in here, we have properties, custom properties for all the different functionality that we want. So we have our ball lift, which helps us to lift the heel while keeping the toes on the ground. We have our foot roll left, that rolls on the left edge of the foot to the side. And we have foot roll right. We have heel lift, meaning that we're lifting it from the heel here. And we have heel twist, twisting back and forth at the heel. Toe lift, same thing but from the toe. We have toe twist, same thing but from the toe. And toe wiggle, which just helps us move that little piece right there. So you could do that all manually with all those bones in there, but it's a lot easier to build all these custom properties in. So why don't we get started? Move this out of our way and we'll look at our regular our regular project here. And let's get ourselves positioned. Let's put our camera down right on the side there. Turn yourself to a side view. Zoom in on your foot. Get yourself a nice workstation here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to start adding in some bones and getting them fixed up correctly, like naming them and turning off deform, that kind of stuff, because none of these bones that we're going to add in right now are going to be deforming bones. They are all going to be non-deforming bones. So first, why don't we add our main foot controller. So what I can do is we can actually just add that right there. If your cursor is already on the 3D, the world origin, that's perfect. Otherwise, you can just go to Shift S and then cursor to world origin. We'll just add it right there, and then we can move it from there. I'm actually going to rotate us out of this view just for a second. I want this controller to be smack dab right in the middle of the foot, at the center of the front of the foot here. So what we can do is grab your 3D cursor, turn on snapping, and change the snap to edge center. and then if you click and hold right on the front here, it should snap right to the center of this front edge. And then let's move, whoops, hold on, put that there, then take your selection tool. Let's move our bone into the center there. So we'll do Shift S and selection to cursor. Go back into your side view, and let's grab this top piece. I want this to kind of be like flat along here, not that it really matters later on, but it's just for visual purposes. When we're working on this, it's going to be a little easier. So with the top piece selected, I'm going to do Shift S and selection to cursor, and then we'll just move that out. So this will be, we know that's on the plane there. Let's move this back a little bit. Oh, we don't want snapping on anymore. Take that right off. And actually, I want this just facing the other way, just for visual purposes. I'm going to put that right there. It doesn't really matter as far as front to back where it's positioned. That should be good right there. Let's add another bone right at the same spot there. This can be our toe lift point, so we can leave that right there. Then let's Shift D to duplicate that and just drag that all the way to the back area. Let's get our cursor. We're going to use our cursor a lot in this one to make sure things are positioned correctly. So I'm just, with the snapping turned on for the edge snap, I'm going to snap that cursor right to the back, the middle of the back edge there. And then we can select our heel lift bone, Shift S, selection to cursor. Alright, next thing we could do is the two rolls on the sides. These are just the easiest ones, that's why I'm doing them first. So let's grab our cursor and just snap it over here to this edge. And then we can add single bone. Can move this down. Just make that a bit smaller, take off snapping. Make that a bit smaller. That should be about good. And then we can just grab this, we can duplicate that, and actually we can turn on snapping and just set it to edge, and then we should be able to just drag this guy over here. And if you're dragging it with the X drag thing, you can just put your mouse for anywhere on this edge that you want it to snap to, and it should snap right on there. Okay. Let's see, that's it for the real easy ones here. So let's take a break and name all of these. Let's name this one, and I'm in edit mode. I've got my bone properties up. I'm going to name this one, let's call it, let's start all of these names with foot rig. Just one word is fine. Underscore toe. Let's call it toe lift. There's another one that might be called toe. This back one can be foot rig heel lift. This one can be foot rig. We're going to call this foot roll left, or why don't we just call this left roll? And this one will be the same thing. Foot rig right roll. Okay, and this one's going to be called, why don't we just call this one foot controller, actually, because this one has more purpose than just being part of the foot rig. Because this is the one we're actually going to be selecting to move our foot around and stuff when we're animating. So I want that the name not to make no sense to the animators, you know. Okay, so we got those ones in place. Let's turn off deform on all of these. Okay, we are going to we're going to make one that comes from this point and just goes straight backwards. It really, what matters is that the bottom nub has to be right there, but anywhere I just send it back like that because it's easier to see that way. So with that nub selected, you can do Control S, cursor to selected, and then we can add a single bone. And then let's move this guy, turn off snapping. Let's do snap this, Control S, selection to cursor, and then just move it straight back this way, because when we're actually manipulating that, I want it to have the correct orientation for its manipulator. And then again, let's add single bone to that same spot right there. This one does not matter so much as far as the direction it's pointing. So this one I'm just going to have kind of direct going up in this direction. Somewhere around there is fine. Add one more bone here. Add single bone. This one we can make a little smaller. And then grab this tip piece here, Shift S, cursor to selected, and add a bone right there as well. Okay. Let's name all these bones we just created. So this one here is going to be foot rig, ball lift. This one is going to be foot rig. And this one can be toe, why don't we just call it toe wiggle. Turn off deform on those. This one we can call, actually let's check what was the name that we gave to this guy. Foot IK handle. Let's change this name of our IK handle that we've got here existing. Let's change this to leg IK handle. Because then this one is going to be foot IK handle, because it's really the IK for this foot ankle bone here. I'm still going to have it called foot rig first, just so it's very clear that this is part of the foot rig and not the main IK handle for the leg. So foot rig and then foot IK handle. Why don't we put an underscore right there. Just copy that. And then this one is going to be foot rig toe IK handle. And we got to turn off deform on both of these. Next we are going to this should be, I think this is our last one that we're going to add here. Just grab the top nib of both of these. Grab both of those guys there and press E to extrude. Press Z so they go straight up, and just do something like that. That's fine. Alright. These ones are going to be called, I'm going to paste that in there again, foot rig, foot IK pole for this one. Turn off deform. And this one will be foot rig, toe, toe IK pole, and turn off deform on that one as well. Next I want to take this pole for the foot, and I want this to be parented to this piece here, but not as connected. I just want it to be parented where I can move around with offset. So we could do Control P and just offset, and that should switch it, but what I can also do is just right down here in the bone properties, just uncheck connected, and now it's parented but with offset. So in the end we're going to adjust this a little bit, but for now I'm just going to kind of move it a tiny bit away, just a little bit like that. We're going to adjust that later on though. Next, let's start parenting everything to each other. So we kind of want, essentially we want everything in the foot rig to be parented to this this foot controller, and that actually includes our IK handle right here as well. So that right now is right now, I think it's not parented to anything. It's just kind of in the armature. So that's going to end up getting parented to this foot controller down here as well. So we got to kind of think of the hierarchy of how this moves. And if you think about it, the first thing that we have to have it kind of at the top of the hierarchy is going to be these 2 foot rolls here. And it really doesn't matter which one we do first. I'm just going to start with the left one. So I'm going to grab the left one, then the foot controller, parent that with keep offset. And we can't have them both parented to that because we want everything else in here to get affected when we actually use the roll there. So I'm going to parent this one to the other foot roll there. So select the one we want to parent. We want to parent to the the parent we want, do Control P and keep offset. Okay, next we're going to do the heel lift and then the toe lift. So the heel lift, click that, and then the last one we parented there. Control P, keep offset. And then same thing, the toe lift is going to be next, parented to the heel lift. So we click that, shift select the one in the back, Control P, keep offset. Next we're going to grab the toe. That is going to be parented to the, the ball lift is going to be parented to the toe. So we grab our ball lift here and then the toe, Control P, keep offset. Then our leg IK handle is going to be connected to the ball lift. So grab this guy and then our ball lift, Control P, keep offset. Next we have our foot IK handle, which is this guy right here. This is actually also going to be parented to the toe lift. So let's grab that and then your toe lift, Control P, keep offset. The foot IK pull is already parented to this. Next we have our toe wiggle, which is this one right here. This is also going to be parented to the toe lift. So grab that, Control P, keep offset. Then the toe IK handle, which is this one right here. Even though it looks like it should be parented to the toe, it is actually going to be parented to the toe wiggle. So it's just positioned right there because the toe is actually going to be affected by it. But in reality, it's going to be parented to the toe wiggle. And then our pull is already parented to the toe IK handle. So now what we have to do is add the IKs to the foot controls here. So we want to grab our foot, the original bone that we used as our foot. Go into pose mode. And we actually have this copy location constraint on here from before when we were moving this around. We didn't want it to detach or anything. We actually don't need that anymore. So we're going to get rid of that. We're going to go ahead and add an inverse kinematics on here. The target is going to be armature. The bone is going to be our foot rig, foot IK handle. And the pole target will be armature and foot rig, foot IK pole. We're going to have a chain length be 1. And if we look at this, it's twisted to the side a bit. We actually need to twist this back. We can just use our pole angle to twist that back up. It looks like -90 is what I need to do for mine. And yours may or may not be that. Just play around with it until it's the right angle there. So let's add our IK onto the toe. Just select that and go into our constraints. Add inverse kinematics. The target will be armature and the bone will be foot rig, toe IK handle. Pole target will be armature and then foot rig, toe IK pole. Change the chain length to 1. And then the pole angle, I believe, is going to be changed. Need to be changed. It's kind of hard to tell with this one, obviously, though, because there's nothing else coming off of it to indicate which way it needs to be changed. What we can do, though, is we can go into our armature tab here, and we can check off axes here, and that'll turn on the visible axes for all of these bones. Now, the one we're looking at for the toe, this is this one right here with Z to the right and X going up. And what we can do is go back into our constraints, and we can just turn the influence off on our IK, and we can see that without the IK, it was facing like that, but with the IK, it's facing like this. We want to change the pole angle so that it's going to be back to the way it originally was. So let's just change the pole angle. Looks like we're going to be going to 90 for the pole angle on this one. Excellent. We can turn those axes back off so that's not in our way. And now there are just 2 little adjustments we got to do before we can just test all our functionality. You'll notice if you grab your foot controller here and you pull it down, your foot's going to tear right off. And the reason behind that is because originally we had this foot piece here parented to the IK controller for the leg. And it still is that way. But what we actually want at this point now with this new foot rig is we want this to be parented to the leg like it was originally. So we can just grab that foot piece. You have to go into edit mode to do this, but grab the foot, shift select the leg, Control P, and we can actually do connected for this one because they're on top of each other like that. So that's perfect. And the last little edit I'd like to make is this this foot rig, the IK pole for the foot. The reason that we have this floating out here like this is because if we go into pose mode and we test our ball lift, and we bring this up, it works fine up until here, but then as soon as we pass it like this, it flips that IK around facing the other direction. That's no good. So we want to have it kind of sitting out as far as we can, so that it's not in an awkward position. We always want it to be kind of forward from this so that this is always facing up that direction. But we want it far enough out so that if we were to really have the foot come forward like this, really as far as like reasonably you would want it to move, it should still be in front of it. So that's pretty good like that, because I don't think we're going to need to be able to move the foot any farther than that. So that should be good there. That can always be adjusted mid animation as well if needed. So that should be good just like that. And now we can just test the functionality of everything that we've done here. So well, let's start with our foot rolls, so we can grab these guys on the sides here, and yep, that's looking good, rolling to the side like that. This one will roll in this direction, that's perfect. We already was just looking at our ball lift, but that looks pretty good like that. We've got our toe wiggle, our heel lift. We also want to be able to do our heel swivel here, and our toe lift, and toe swivel. And then we should be able to rotate our foot controller and move our foot controller around and have that be the main controller for where the foot is located. And that looks pretty good. And that'll do it for this video. In the next video, we're going to be talking about custom properties. We'll be adding a lot of them to our hand and our foot in order to control some of the functionality that we've built into them. I'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone.